Okay, I think let's call the meeting to order. We'll call it 6:31. On roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Graves.
Here.
Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Stelzer.
Here.
All right, looks like we're all here. All right, has everybody seen the regular minutes of the last meeting? Are there any questions regarding those?
Yeah, I've got one small thing here. I do want to give a little bit more credit regarding the email that we had received from the resident on Indian View.
Yes.
I think we should, expand a little bit on that paragraph just to indicate what was in that email. Not go verbatim, because I don't believe that's what we should do, but just indicate that there was a strong opinion that cars do not need to be parked on the street, and the parking fee should be $500 per car. I mean, I think that opinion should be included in the minutes, just on a summary basis, if we can make that change.
Okay.
And I did talk about that in the council meeting 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I do have one other thing here. First of all, is everybody else okay with the minutes?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I do have one other thing in here, because there was a letter we had received that there was a statement made that at-large representation is ineffective and does not provide adequate voice to the large selection of village population. And I think there's some misconceptions about how we got to at-large representation versus district representation. And I just want to make sure, some of this gets cleared up a little bit, that we don't kind of just leave it dangling out there like there's something that we on council have done to bring this on. This is kind of something that evolved over time. First of all, Ohio law requires that council members in the village be elected at large. And in general, I think our solicitor will tell us we have to follow Ohio law. The other part of it is the districts were kind of developed many years ago, and the voting by district was encouraged during the town meeting process. Town meeting was a registered PAC. By law, Mariemont government can't have anything to do with that PAC. And as such, town meeting needs to stand on its own. So that voting by district historically occurred during that March town meeting, which was not an official election, but was usually just a town meeting endorsement. And those endorsements were usually held up through the official election in November. All it was an endorsement process and not really an official election. There's some in the village who thought that the town meeting council election process lacked many controls you normally see in an election process, and the process was not fair. So in 2019, when there was a council election, town meeting decided not to hold any council elections at their annual meeting. So therefore, the village pretty much became an at-large representation, just because by default there was nobody, in essence, endorsing anybody or coming up with a list of, candidates. So it became just an at-large election in November, which is pretty much what Ohio law says. So during that 2009 election, and earlier this year when an open council seat was available, no one from that former District 9 expressed a desire to serve on council. So it's not like we didn't allow anybody from doing it. They never expressed an opinion that they wanted to serve on council. So I welcome any suggestions on anybody has out there to how to address this issue. But to me, the obvious way is for someone from District 6 to step up and be willing to serve on council. And I have pretty much made it known that I don't have any intention of asking for another 4 years on council next November, 2021. So there's going to be at least one seat available at that point. So if there's somebody from District 6 who wants to step up, I think there's going to be seats available in November of 2021. So I just wanted to make sure we're crystal clear on this.
Yeah. Joe, as a follow-up to that District 6, is there a way for us to clarify what that district is? So if someone is interested in that, we could, give the parameters of what that district is?
There was a map that's included in the
phone book.
Yeah, in the phone book from the MPF,
Okay.
from the Preservation Foundation, that clearly delineates which districts, were, which. Now, again, part of those districts were drawn a long time ago. I think I saw in my research that they pretty much were drawn up in 1941. But I think the dynamics of each one of those districts has changed drastically now. I mean, if you look at the condos that are in one district have completely changed the demographics in that district. So I don't know that this idea that, you know, there's a big distinction between south of the Pike and north of the Pike. I believe there's as many $1 million homes north of the Pike now as there are on the south end of the Pike.
There are, like, to follow on that, there are in each individual district now, if you look at it on the map, they all have their own unique challenges. Like, one has a lot of commercial, one is a lot of residential, one spans the Pike at the east side, or sorry, yeah, east side. District 6 does have a lot of the streets that, you know, complain a lot about, the homes are closer together, they have smaller yards, but they also have busier streets in front. So while they have less backyard for their kids to play, they have a busier situation going on out front. So you wouldn't necessarily tell your 3-year-old to go run around in the front yard at traffic time while you're cooking dinner. So, I mean, they do, there's an argument either way. And so I think that if that is what people want, then, you know, neighbors can find somebody to stand behind and put up for that seat. And I think that would be terrific. The other side too is that if we would like to continue, and we have no, as council, we have no call over this,
Right.
because town meeting is a PAC, but I believe a good portion of the leadership positions in that PAC in town meeting are up this year. So president, vice president, treasurer, and I'm not sure if secretary, I think are all up this year. They didn't meet last year, so I don't think that announcement was made that come spring, they need leadership positions. But the leadership of the PAC hasn't done anything. Like, they haven't met again since a couple of years ago. So not that a meeting is going to be super easy to even do this year. I don't even know how you would do it. But if it wants to continue in existence, it needs to figure out a way. So if people are interested in running the PAC, they should continue, like, they should put their name in now. And then I was advocating for this last fall. Put your name in now so that when leadership changes need to happen, there's strong leadership in place. And then there can be recommendations going forward. Now, they're not, you know, the only people running. If people want to run outside of the recommendations, that's fine too. And the process when votes happen is that regardless of whether you're running from inside town meeting or just you decided to and you filed with the Board of Elections, you're in the same race, and it's still the top vote getters get those spaces. But if they would like to continue to make recommendations based on district, then they need to find leadership to continue running the PAC, to continue to make those recommendations. And I don't know that anybody has communicated that out. So I don't know if it will continue.
But again, my read is that we on council or the mayor can't have anything to do with that PAC process.
No, we're outside of that.
Great. Right.
So if citizens want to do this, you know, I welcome their action.
They should have the information. I don't think the PAC itself is offering people the information to continue its existence.
But we'll see how it plays out. Any other thoughts on the minutes? And then if possible, I want to combine any thoughts on the minutes from the special council meeting, October the 19th.
Right.
Y'all good with those?
Yep. Yep.
I combine them.
Yes.
Yes, somebody will.
If they're voting to change it.
And then the first one.
So I move to make the changes that Joe talked about in the last regular council meeting, including the comment about the other letter.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves, Avia,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, I'm going to need a motion to accept the minutes.
Correct.
No.
For the special meeting.
For the special.
Okay, motion and a second to accept the special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Ha. Hi,
Uh,
Marcel.
Whoever.
Did you get it? Did you get it? Okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right. All right, moving on to communications. You've all seen, starting with Chief Leitner's report, Scherpenberg's report, Deanna's report. Any questions on any of these?
Right, so a couple things real fast. I had talked to Tim today about the COVID count that was in his report, the 51 COVID cases. And so I called him this morning and asked him just a little bit of detail on that, whether they were all coming out of one location. I think early on we were seeing some of them out of the Mercy St. Teresa, but I think that has tailed off. And I'll let Tim go from there. Tim was telling me some of the stats he's seeing.
Yeah, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
As of today, we currently have 12 active cases in the village itself. It's pretty much all spread throughout. Nothing's congregated in one area. Since that date, we have had 57 cases. The rest of those individuals have since been cleared and have been removed from the quarantine list itself. That information is up from July 6th of 2020. I've reached out to the health department to see if I can obtain some additional information before that date to maybe help us bring some numbers closer together. All of the 12 active cases have since come on the list since October 30th of 2020. So we're seeing a pretty big spike here, but again, none of it's really congregated in one area. It's all spread throughout the village. Our firefighters are staying healthy. We've had 4 members of the organization have to be quarantined because of possible symptoms and such. Only one of those individuals tested positive, but he had very minor symptoms, has since been cleared, and everyone's returned to work. I'd like to take this opportunity just to mention to the public again, I can't stress enough, let's try to not congregate together. If you're going to have some type of gathering, please social distance, utilize your mask, good hygiene practices, washing your hands, and so on and so forth. I can personally speak, I've seen the worst of some people, and I've seen other people with this illness that it really doesn't affect, but we're getting into the winter months. Now's the opportunity to take advantage of this nice weather still and kind of get out and get some fresh air. But, remember, practice those safety measures, and, I'll keep everyone on council posted. If I do see some large spikes, maybe I can throw out an email or something, and we can kind of put our heads together and see if there's something we might be able to do to reduce that back down a little bit.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Good advice. Good
Thanks.
advice.
So bottom line, what we're talking about, Tim, is about 1.5% of the population of Mariemont has tested positive for COVID. So it's still not a big problem, but I think you're absolutely right. As we're entering these winter months, even though, there's the big announcement this morning about the potential for a vaccine, that's still, 30 to 60 days off, on a fast track. We're going to be dealing with this for, a while here. And I do believe that some people have left their guard down in this village. I see it
Okay.
every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, cool. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right,
Another thing you
moving
can do
on.
is get your flu shot.
Good advice.
All right, moving on. You all have seen the check from the Bureau of Workers' Comp.
Yay.
Can I just add one other thing? I did talk to Deanna this morning about the tax receipts. And, her report is showing we're about $172,000 down year over year. And I think we were estimating we'd be 150 down by the end of the year. She still has about 295 returns outstanding as of today. So there's still, but what she's seeing, we're not seeing big tax dollars come in from the returns that are being filed. It's usually people that forgot, and we're not seeing big dollars. So we probably are going to wind up with that, original $150,000 estimate that Tony came up with a couple months ago. So the year over year is still probably heading on that number. The other thing I wanted to mention on reports was the fiscal officer's report. The monthly receipts for October pretty much came in as projected that we had on that previous schedule, but there was 2 things that impacted that. Number one, we didn't get the $50,000 street vacation because we just got it the first week of November. But we did get the $50,000 from the BWC, which, offset that. So that the number came right in, based upon what the original projection was. And the monthly disbursement, though, is $52,000 higher, and I don't know what caused that yet. I haven't seen the detail.
Okay. Yeah, the money from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, that they're calling it it's a dividend to us, and they're calling it a return of premiums. It's the entire premium that we paid. So going forward, I'm not really sure how this is going to tease out for us, in the coming year.
Well, they did say, so actually there's something I forwarded it to John. Today was something in OML that talked about how, they're still making the other dividend payment in December. And I think Tony's ballpark in that one is going to be around 50 or 60,000. But they gave more specifics about, they have a target for reserves. It's got to be like between 1.2%, 1.5%. And even with this most recent dividend we're going to receive, it'll put them at 1.43%. So they're still fine.
Yeah, they're still fine. Yeah.
So, we shouldn't count on this kind of stuff going forward.
No,
but it's not, they're not dipping too far into the reserves either, which is stuff too. So that's good to hear. Yeah,
it's good to have. All right, and then the last thing on communications is that waiver of liability. I'll look that over. Any questions about that? It looks, I guess my only question on that is, who all are we going to have sign this? I mean, does this go down to South 80 and then go through Louise Schomburg and all those people?
Well, this is my baby. It did not come out of committee. It was just kind of a thing that we began talking about years and years ago. So when this came up, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, when we started talking about asking residents if they were willing to, deal with, if they wanted to volunteer, first of all, for helping out the village. But then specifically, I had this brainchild of, hey, if everybody on the bluff, or excluding the elderly people who couldn't do the work, but if people wanted to help them out, we could help the service department clear the honeysuckle on like the bluff side, not the Mariemont homeowner side of the bluff. I did this, and I call it my own personal park. It's beautiful. It hasn't grown back. It's really nice. The kids enjoy it. There's even like trees to hang tree swings from. There's a little like tree, a birch that grew out of nowhere. It's kind of fun. So there were some other residents that were like, wow, we would love to do this. Not even all people who live on the bluff, but just people who are concerned with invasive species. So before we wanted to allow people to do this, I wanted a waiver because I didn't want to just have people running around with chainsaws. And then in addition, Dennis years and years ago had said, we just went out with chainsaws and cleared out the extra stuff over in the beach grove, but probably we should have had something, for these, he called them weekend warriors who weren't necessarily quite comfortable with these power tools. So, and then we had I think the Sabos, and Joe, maybe you did it, some other people down by the pool cleared out a bunch of honeysuckle and made that really open and beautiful for, the regular species to come back. So that is when I approached, I think it was Dan back then, and said, hey, can we do this? And he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so Ed put this waiver together, and it's essentially what, if I decided to go, not as a village council member or employee, decided to volunteer for a group of people doing work, it would basically, hold me harmless and hold the village harmless for whatever I did wrong. And it would allow my homeowner's insurance essentially to cover the liability for me. So now that this is kind of a legally okay document, Ed's done his work on it and it will hold. So now it's up to us as a council or the village as a whole to decide who would be required to sign it. So the idea was, the Axemen, who were the group that Dennis had been a part of, who took care of the beach grove and other things, that type of group would sign it. I'm thinking the South 80 folks would sign it because they use power tools and they use their bush hogs and whatever else they're willing to contribute. I think there's, potentially Louise's group, like the Parks and Garden people, because they're the overarching group that the South 80 folks come under. They may sign it. I don't know. I mean, it's really up to us, I think, to decide how it applies and also up to Ed's guidance. But that's sort of where it came from and the intention of it. And it's really up to us as a council to build policy around it.
Well, so Maggie, how would it work if, because I've had any number of people basically say to me, you know, they'd like to volunteer a little time to clear honeysuckle in any various spot.
Then you say, sure, sign this and you're on.
Well, okay. Where do they go to sign it? I mean, do I send them up to the office? How's this?
Well, and that's our job. Like, I mean, is that something that you would like to have Allison and Joni, you know, deal with? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of responsibility for Allison and Joni to come back around and say, hey, we saw you outside doing whatever. Did you make sure you signed this? It was basically like, as long as we communicate ahead of time and start a word of mouth thing within our community committees / I don't know, whatever. We have a new word for every group we form, like a committee, a task force or whatever, but like whatever those things are, we need to feed that leadership of that task force or committee the information that the people involved need to sign this before they can get to work. And if they don't, it's not really our problem, I guess, but.
Maybe we could do it by, like Rob just suggested, possibly it could be done by email or possibly the form. I mean, I guess could the form be put up on the website and somehow they would
Yes.
download it off the website? And
That would be fine.
sign
I
it?
think a signed hard copy needs to be in the office before
Okay.
someone would begin work, right?
Meg, I don't know if you can see her or not, but I think she's talked about it very accurately, what's happened. And Maggie, when you asked me the other day to send the waiver and release agreement, I go back into my file. I think I probably over the years, over the last 5 years, I probably sent 3 or 4 different waivers here for consideration. You're right. The first one I think was when they're clearing out the honeysuckle across the street here. And then we've gone on. And I know Joe called me because he was concerned with all the workers that were down at the swimming pool helping with
Mhm.
COVID. We want to get something to protect us there. So this should do it. The best way, in my opinion, here is to leave. I'm not a big email guy, but I think we had copies sitting here at the office, and when people say I'd like to volunteer, we say yes. Our insurance company requires us to get these waivers, because if we just say we require them, the people might give us a little bit of pushback. But if we
Right.
say the insurance company requires that, and Joe, I don't know if you noticed this, but in this agreement that I sent to Maggie the other day, I took out all that indemnification language. It was so very harsh in one of the prior agreements we had done, only because I thought it would have a real chilling effect on people signing an agreement like that, thinking, holy smokes, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
Right.
But
Good point.
either email or just have the copies here, and I think we'll be good to go. Okay.
We're also just talking about the physical things, right? Like if somebody serves on the planning commission or the ARC.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
So it's just
Exactly.
out there
Yeah,
where they may get hurt.
Get hurt or hurt somebody.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Even Louise, I don't think she qualified. Does she do any physical work?
Oh, she pulls down some serious limbs. I cannot believe what I see that woman doing.
Right. I think it's one of those things, the particulars of it, it's a good idea, but the particulars of it and how we're going to get it signed will probably have to evolve somewhat. I mean,
Okay.
it can start with me though. And that, like I said, because I have a lot of contact with people who come to me and say they want to volunteer, and I'll say, great. But you gotta get a signed copy of this first.
I mean, Bill, would it be help? I'm not trying to make any more kind of bureaucracy around this than we need to. Do you want anything coming from the Rules and Law Committee saying this needs to be done, or these are the conditions under which it needs to be? I'm happy to do it, but we don't need to do it unless you want to.
I think Ed's explanation that essentially it's going to be a requirement, of our insurance companies,
Okay.
to
That's
help.
really kind of administrative function. too,
Yeah, so, that.
Okay.
We don't want
Do you need a written office policy in terms of like describing what should be done and who it flows through organizationally? Or is that good? You're okay winging it?
I'm kind of good at.
Okay.
I'm kind of a winging it guy. At least I would
You
start
are.
off that way.
Okay.
If
we run it properly,
if
we
complications,
do it.
set in and people seem to be bucking it or something like that, then of course we'll get.
Okay.
something right.
No, I just didn't mean like if you're gonna accidentally forget it or whatever.
Well, I'm,
Yeah, Bill, you're
totally forgetful.
there's
I am too.
that.
I need somebody to tell me this is exactly how you do
Rob
it.
will remind me. He's good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He never lets me forget.
Okay.
Right,
So
okay.
can we just say this is going to be in
Oh.
effect as of now, and
Yes.
we can
Um,
start hiring
the-
people?
Yes.
Okay, can I make a recommendation? We table this until the next meeting so I can take a deeper look at this. I'm trying to read it as I'm listening to the conversation here and trying to think about all the, things that we're addressing, but probably some stuff that we're not addressing. Can we take 2 weeks on this? And then, and during that 2 week period, come up with a framework around the outside of this agreement about what we think we're going to use it for and how we're going to implement it, and have a little bit more detail at that point?
Hey, Joe, how about just, if we put it in place for now, then you come back in 2 weeks and we can update it too, right? It'd be good to have something in place at least if somebody does come, and then, again, if you have changes, we can go ahead and make the changes in 2 weeks, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, here's another thought on it though, Joe, in that, in the interim 2 weeks, I mean, that we're sort of moving into this time of the year, the number of volunteers right now is, very low. I mean, not that many people
So
are going to
let's just, how about if we do it this way, that we're not going to do implementation of this thing until January 1st. So it gives us some time to refine this thing.
Hey, Joe, I mean, I've sent this to you and you had comments on it and I fed them right up to Ed. So you've essentially seen it and made comments on it.
Yeah, but again, I'd like to just take a little bit of time here and figure it out, because I know the one thing we've also talked about is, is there any potential for indemnification of people, for third parties coming after them? And again, it might just be that the homeowner's policy would kick in at that point, and that's the defense that the individuals have from a third party challenging them. But I'd like to think through that also. Is that the avenue for the defense?
But hey, Joe, I mean, then am I not to accept any volunteer help between now and the end of the year?
Yeah,
No,
that's,
I think you can continue what you're doing right now, but we're going to change policies effective January 1st.
But I think, Joe, I think we really ought to have something. We don't have anything in place right now, right?
yeah, I think we should do it sooner than later.
Yeah, because I know that this is a good time for, especially given the weather, to get some of that honeysuckle out. And I know there are people waiting to do it.
So I would just hate for us to.
Where they are.
To not accept any new help from the residents while we're waiting until January 1st. I mean, Ed's taking a good cut at this. I think it can act for the interim until, we have any changes or updates to it.
Yeah, Joe, this is Ed McTighe talking. I think our concern, or is your concern the wording in this particular release?
I'm just trying to read through it in detail as we're talking here, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. I mean, to really think about, all the potential repercussions of this thing. And so that's why I'd like just to have a little bit of time to really detail read this thing and think about it.
Well, sure, that makes sense to me. I think the bottom line is, though, that council and our insurance company believe it's a good idea to have some type of a waiver and release agreement for our volunteers to sign, okay? We can always change that release agreement after everyone on council has read it and digested it and wanted me to add or delete some provisions. The only thing I would say is what I said to you before about that having a chilling effect on volunteers. I think you want to try to keep it as simple as you can, because if these people come in and they read all this legalese, they start getting a little bit scared. But that's just my general opinion, okay? I'm here to serve. I'll do whatever you guys want to do. Okay.
Do we vote on it or?
You need to vote on it. It's already decided.
We've kind of already decided. I mean, it's just a question of, do we just?
I'd like to see it go into place. If we need to tweak it, we can tweak it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time coming, so,
Have something than nothing.
Right.
To protect us.
Right.
For right now, if you want to take a straw vote amongst council members, who believes that we should have certain volunteers sign a waiver and release agreement, aye or nay, and then that'll work.
I mean, based on what we have.
Yeah, based on what we have, and if anyone wants to change it, we can change it.
Yeah. Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. All right. So let's just have a straw vote then. Who wants to go with what we currently have, with the understanding that we will, enhance it, tweak it, work on it as we go forward. But for the moment, because we are going to have volunteers coming forward here, Although I don't think there are going to be that many that want to take down honeysuckle this time of year. However, who wants to, okay, straw vote, show of hands. Do we go with what we have temporarily?
Can I vote twice?
No, you only can vote once.
Once.
Okay,
So
so
you need to let Joni know, you can't. It's gotta-
We see you, Rob. I'm assuming that's your hand. Okay.
1,
Okay,
2,
I don't see
3,
Marcy. I
4,
don't want to see. Looks like 5.
5.
And no Joe.
Okay.
All right. All right, Tony, are you there?
Let's do the bills first.
Bills.
All right.
Do the bills.
I have 2 bill questions whenever you're ready. So let me know when's a good time.
No.
All right, then we'll do the bills first. Any questions regarding the bills?
Me.
Everybody looked over the bills. Maggie, you got a question?
I have 2 quick questions. So one is where it says under the municipal section, emergency repair of water leak in kitchen. I think I know where that originated from, but will that be, is that like after an insurance deductible, or will that be somehow fixed by an insurance deductible or insurance payment? What are we doing?
Well, obviously we're going to look into, making a claim on the insurance. It was one of those things though. I mean, it had to be addressed, immediately.
Of course it did. I don't suggest that it didn't. Yes.
Locker room downstairs. And we got guys to respond to us very quickly to make the repair.
Mhm.
And yeah, so
Okay. So you haven't filed the claim yet? You might.
No.
But we will attempt to recoup the money.
Yes.
Got it. And then second is under the last item, fourth last item under surface, maybe the 22 sugar maples, and then MPF to refund a portion. How much is MPF donating and how much is the municipality responsible for?
I believe MPF was donating about $3,000 toward that.
Okay, so
I sent an email out and have not gotten a response to,
But Marcy, was that kind of the figure?
I think that was, but I did send an email out last week and I think I copied you guys on it, or at least I know I copied Joe.
Okay.
And I have
Okay.
not gotten a response back, but
and then one follow-up question is that, like if we have NATORPS or whoever plant our trees, they will say like, well, if any of them die, we give you a new tree, or if any of them die, we refund the money. Like, is that something that has been negotiated into the MPF contract, or is it if they die, and that's it?
Well, I think you pay, depending on how you buy it, I think you can either pay more and get cover the guarantee. John, you'd know more than.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of a warranty on the tree.
No, there's no warranties because we planted them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because we planted them, so I think that invalidates warranties. I just wanted that on the record one way or the other.
Okay, so John is saying there's no warranty on the tree because we planted the tree. And if the tree dies, it's on us.
All
Hey,
right.
John, you may want to explain why we plant the trees and NATORPS doesn't, because this came up during the Health and Rec Committee meeting. Explain the complexities of planting trees in the village of Mariemont.
Well, it depends on who you buy. We didn't get them from NATORPS. We bought them out of Michigan, these
Okay.
trees. So with all the underground utilities, we had NATORPS come in last year. And once they, they're used to using the augers, and then found out they can't use the augers because of all the different utilities we got in the ground with cable and phone and fiber optics. So a lot of times when we have it marked, we don't know what's underground until utility companies come out. So last year we ended up planting all the majority of the trees that we thought NATORPS was going to do and give us the warranty on, but didn't work out that way. Same with this one.
You're pretty much planting them by hand. I mean, hand shovels,
Yes.
aren't you, at this point?
Yes.
Because
Well,
of the
that and the
utilities.
backhoe, we can use the backhoe a little bit with somebody watching. So, but we still get into lines, whether they're old or new, which we got into a fiber optic line going in one of the apartments. So, you can only go by what they're marked, and you got 3 feet on each side of where that marking is. But somewhere in that area, general area, is where the line is. So,
Hey, John, well, what does NATORP charge us to put the trees, to plant trees?
depends on the type of tree. Usually, to get a warranty on top of that, you're probably looking at about $100 to $150 more. sometimes
Per tree?
200, but
Yeah,
Per
per
tree.
tree.
per tree, yes.
Oh,
But each company is different.
Yeah, and what did we pay individually for the trees? Was it 250 a tree?
Yeah, just under 200, yeah, a little over 200.
A little over
I
200.
think it was, we were at $5,600, and that was with the delivery
Yeah.
charge.
So it's a very expensive warranty.
That was for 25 trees, yes.
So how much is the tree? How much is a tree and then plus 100?
A tree is probably about 225.
So 150 is about, okay. Okay,
So that's what we paid for the 225 plus
Got it.
shipping.
okay. So we have a plan to water these guys and keep them alive, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So we've already had some good watering already. We're expecting some other good ones tomorrow night.
good deal.
All right.
Bill, hey, quick question. There's this K9 cruiser equipment. We don't have a K9, do we? Or we lease
yeah.
one out every now and then?
Oh, we definitely have a canine. You betcha. In fact, I met the boy the other day. Beautiful.
Yeah? Oh, I didn't
Is
know
he
that.
living, is he living with us yet? Because I would like to come meet him too.
Well, he doesn't live here. He lives with the officer out in Claremont County.
Okay.
And he started his training with Cincinnati. Cincinnati, they have their own
Unit.
training facility, and Forest, they train with other dogs down there. And I think he's only like maybe 4 weeks into the training now, and it's an extensive 10 or 12 week training. But I tell you this, he's full of energy. He's a great looking dog, very muscular looking dog, and we will be bringing him around. I mean, for everybody to meet as the training proceeds. But I think what Avia, did you raise the question about that equipment, or was it Tony?
Tony.
Good.
Yeah, Chief is paying for that, out of his
Drug and alcohol fund?
yeah, or something. It's not really costing the village money.
Okay.
And the donations for the dog have been fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I just didn't know. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
He's living with you, Tony, by the way.
What's the dog's name?
All right.
The dog's name is kind of a funny name. The dog came from, one of the Eastern Bloc countries or something. It's something like Danzy.
Dasty.
How do you say?
Dasty.
Dasky.
Dasty.
Yeah,
Like nasty.
nasty, like with the T.
The nested dog.
Get down.
God. Oh,
Yeah, they stayed with the same name. All right, we need a motion and a second to pay the bills.
So moved.
The motion, who's got the second?
I'll second.
RC, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Delzer.
Aye.
All right, let's pay the bills. All right, Tony, we got some folks that want to come in and ask some questions.
There are no attendees on the list tonight.
Oh, no attendees. Okay.
Joke away, Bill.
All right. Yeah. Well, all right, then let's move on to the committee reports.
All right, the first one from the Rules and Law Committee regarding DORA legislation.
Yes.
The Rules and Law Committee met at 2:02 p.m. on November 3rd, 2020. Present were Mayor Bill Brown, Committee Chair Maggie Palazzolo, Committee Member Marcy Lewis, and Chief Hines. The committee discussed creating a DORA district in Mariemont. This is a, quote, designated outdoor refreshment area, unquote, and would allow people to buy an alcoholic drink at a restaurant and then walk around outside in a designated area. Detail is available in the addendum in terms of what area would be included, the hours of the DORA would be in effect, and which businesses would be included. The committee unanimously recommends moving forward with this. It would be a way to promote Mariemont business and an economic development tool as well. The process is a matter of deciding what we want the parameters of the DORA to be and filing paperwork with the state. The committee would like to have this in place before spring, respectively submitted and signed by Maggie Palazzolo, Chairman, and Marcy Lewis and Rob Bartlett.
Well, Rob hasn't signed yet, but.
Oh, no,
I have yet to circulate it for signing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It is presented.
So we also discussed talking to the business owners.
Yes, so that was step 2. The part 1 was pitching this to council. to see if council accepts this idea at all. And if so, in what form? And then the second step would be, as we further develop it and move forward with any changes that the council would suggest, we will also be contacting the business owners, both the people who would be serving drinks, like the restaurants, and then also, you know, whatever non-serving restaurants there are, like, or sorry, non-serving businesses there are, like the dress shop and the embroidery shop and all the people along the Strand and across the Strand, so that we make sure everybody's aware of what's happening. And if they would like to, you know, opt out and put a sign in the window to not have people carry drinks into their establishment or whatever, that they can do so.
Hey, Maggie, how big was the signage going to be on this in terms of sort of designating the area?
So that is up to us. When I spoke with the man who is the city manager of Milford, who I had the most in-depth conversation about of the people who've done this, he said, so there's a map, it's on page, like, so there's my report, and then page 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on like page, it's there. Oh, it's a terrible copy, but it's their exhibit B. It's like page 6 down here. There are these little circles. It's really hard to see in a black and white copy. But they essentially had one at each corner of where things took a turn. So like the central section of theirs narrows. So there was one at the beginning, like northeast and southeast end. Then theirs narrows. So at the point at which theirs narrows, there's a kind of north and south sign. And then at the ends, theirs is kind of like this weird triangle. So there's a north, south, and kind of like a central kind of point that they put a sign. But they also, their circle sizes are different. And what he said that is like they chose different sizes of signage to accommodate not making it obnoxious. And I said to him, you know, people in Mariemont are very sign aware because we have these historical districts and because, you know, we have a lot of signage already in our main area. And there was quite an uproar when, you know, ODOT went through and put signs that people didn't feel like were warranted. And so we have to be really sensitive to that. And he's like, you know what, the requirement of the state is just to mark where it ends and begins. So it's really up to you. You can put what you want, you can make it bigger or smaller. And I said, so probably we'll just stick with our pretty brown wooden signs and make it look nice.
Okay, so the long and short of it is that we basically have control over the size, shape, color, and so on and so forth of the sign.
Size, shape, and color, I believe we do. As far as we have to mark it, we don't get to pick that. We have to mark it. Yeah. And that's really for us. We don't want people like wandering into people's backyards and hanging out, you know.
Yeah, especially carrying alcohol.
Not in my backyard anyway.
All the,
Or maybe especially my backyard. I don't know.
They haven't got that. We haven't got that far. Like to Marcy's point, you were going to be contacting the businesses to get.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thing one is I would like to, I planned this to be almost kind of, I mean, in a very ungovernmental like way. This is my elevator speech pitch to council / our, you know, committee's pitch to council. We would like to do this. Bill, I know I've given you the heads up that it's coming, but I'd really like to do this mainly as an economic development tool, but also to get people here in the spring or before, since we're having such great weather, to utilize our businesses and to enjoy themselves and really just to market Mariemont. I mean, what better way to incentivize people to come here and like take a glass of wine over to the square and sit on a bench the same way we do with ice cream from Graders. And it just seems like such a great opportunity. It's gone very well for our neighbors who have done it with no problems. Chief was really in favor. Wasn't concerned about any.
Montgomery just added one. It was in the paper this week.
Say that again, Marcy.
Montgomery just added one. It was in the paper this week.
Mm-hmm.
My concern, Maggie, was just that since we did discuss that in the meeting, I think it should be a report. That's all.
Okay, I'll definitely put that. Yeah, that was just part 2. I can add it.
Maggie, the size and the shape of the thing is sort of yet to be determined.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I've done none of that. So what I did, you'll see on these pages that follow, which is my ginormous addendum, is that I tried to mark out all specific things to Milford. Like, I wanted you to see what theirs was, because really when I read this legislation, it is so clear, so beautifully done. I mean, it's not like legislation. I could actually read it with no problems. And so I wanted to present this to everyone to see ahead of time.
Yeah, okay.
So I tried to mark out anything specific to Milford. And then I also made another mistake. So with the permit holders, so this is essentially, this document that I have as our addendum is what we would file with the state. It's very clear. It's like check boxes. We want to do this. We are, yes, okay with it. These are the businesses included. This is the area. This is the path. These are where the signs are going to be. I omitted the dilly deli. Rob brought that to my
Yeah,
attention. I messed up.
that was just an oversight.
Yep, sorry. So we will do that. And then their Exhibit A boundaries, you can't really see it in a black and white. So I had done just a spitball idea of it, and then Rob improved upon it and sent it in an email to everyone. And so we have options. We can do just the main town square. My hope was, big thinking wise, we could do the main town square and find a way to take it over to the old town square for potential business development opportunities over there at some point in time, just to keep it open. If a business comes and says, hey, I'd really like to locate here, but I'm the only place over here serving food, or I'm the only place over here that has coffee, or I'm the only place over here that has a drink, you know, we can say, well, you're already in Adora, so you're in good company. We'll funnel people right over there to you. It should work out really well. I'd like to be able to do that.
Okay, well, Maggie, I think a lot of this, like I said, is to be, determined in another committee meeting as we go forward. I mean, the basic concept that you presented here, is good, and I think we should probably go ahead and let's vote, on this, on your report.
Okay.
So I need a motion and a second to accept the report. Rob's got
So
this.
moved.
All right, we've already had discussion on roll call. Mr. Bartlett, Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Is that with that amendment that I suggested?
Sure, we can put that in there.
Okay, thanks. Then yes.
Are we
Can
clear
you
on?
move for the amendment, please?
Discussing it.
What was the amendment? No, I would
Yeah,
like, I would like to know what the
Yeah,
amendment.
what was the amendment here? Right, that's,
It's just that that one of the things that we discussed in the meeting was that we were going to talk to business owners.
oh, yeah.
It's just a change in what, the content, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in the minute.
Clarification of the content. That's more accurate.
Okay, I think everybody's good with that amendment.
Yeah.
So Dr. Lewis, are you?
I was on mute. Can I ask for clarification about what we're voting on here? Is it just that we're going to move
Voting on the
forward?
report, Joe, just the report.
We're going to move forward with the creation of Adora. And then I would like to clarify, do you want a further rules and law meeting to flesh out the details and represent the exact Adora we want? Or do you want to do it in the council?
No, I think it should be done in committee.
Okay.
I think committee.
Okay, so all we're just doing is voting on rules and law to come back with a complete product before we take the final vote.
Right, yes,
Okay, fine.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
The report, Joe, is just basically the concept of the door. Do we want to do it? Okay.
Well, it just means go back and come back with the details and we'll have the final vote. So,
Exactly.
okay, fine.
And talk to the businesses. All right, I think I'm up to Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll pass that report. All right.
I didn't get it.
Who had the second on that?
Thank God.
I think Avia did. Avia, did you have the second on that?
Sure.
Sure.
She's now admitting to it. All right. Second report there. Tony, you ready?
All right, also from the Rules and Laws Committee regarding resident comments, council packets. The Rules and Law Committee met at 2:02 p.m. on November the 3rd, 2020. Present were Mayor Bill Brown, Committee Chair Maggie Palazzolo, Committee Member Marcy Lewis, and Chief Hines. The committee discussed was the policy for placing residents' comments into the council packet and meeting minutes. Committee discussed the issues around fairly representing community members who sent communications to council and the mayor. The committee also discussed that this is a matter of policy, not a change to the village code. The committee suggests the following. Communications will be placed into the council packet if, number one, the communication is sent to the mayor. Number two, the communications is sent to all of council, regardless if it was sent to the mayor. And number three, a resident sends a communication and asks that it be discussed in a council meeting. These items will by default be in the meeting minutes because the communications are always at least mentioned by the mayor during the meeting. And this is enough. Finally, if a resident attends a meeting and addresses council, then their comments will be placed into the minutes verbatim as been our practice, respectively submitted and signed Maggie Palazzolo, Marcy Lewis, and Rob Arlett.
All right, you've heard the report, and this time let's do it according to our procedure. You've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
And then we'll talk about
And then we have discussion, and then we vote.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I got to, okay, second. All right, now we have discussion. Any discussion regarding this?
What if someone doesn't want their comments to be in the minutes or read at a meeting? So they send a communication to you, Bill, but they don't want it to be in the minutes.
Huh, that's interesting.
Well, it's interesting, and as I had stated, usually when somebody sends me a comment, depending on the significance of it or the importance of it, I obviously almost always send it around to the other council people so that you all are we're all in the same loop on it. If it is discussed that night in council because it was that whoever was sending me in the comment wished that it be discussed, well, then obviously it's going to go, at least part of it's going to go into the minutes because it was discussed in council. If they don't want that, I would suggest that obviously they would state so in the communication. Although if they do that, then I really can't mention it at council.
Right.
It's kind of a conundrum that we have here in that regard. I think what Maggie's really going for here, though, at least as I understand it, is that this is more of just an agreement among all of us that we all share communications with each other, that we get any correspondence that we would get from a resident, a question, a comment, whatever, we would obviously share it around with one another so that we're all on the same page. And then, anything, any comment would be read, if it would be read at council, it's going into the minutes. Or at least a summary.
Sure, and that's fair enough. I just wanted to ask that if someone sent a communication to you, Bill, but they didn't want it to be discussed in the meeting. They just wanted you to be aware of something.
Yes.
And if they didn't want it to be in the minutes, could they request for it not to be included?
Of course.
That's completely reasonable, and I think that would be something we'd honor. I think that my thoughts with this particular communication was, somebody fired up about something, like, I feel like I need to tell you my thoughts on what you discussed at your last meeting or what you're going to discuss at this meeting. I mean, there's a lot of people who've said things like, I can't make it to this meeting, but I'm sending you this communication. This is my opinion. This is what I would say if I were there. And a lot of times they'll send it to just like, the 2 or 3 people on council who they know or who they know agree with them and would support them, or the mayor, just so they make sure that like somebody in charge knows what they think. I think if you're just like aggravated about something around Mariemont, like a bush hanging over a stop sign, and you send it to Bill, like, hey, can you take care of this? It doesn't need to go into the council packet. But if it's something that is relevant that we're talking about, that's on the agenda, I mean, we all kind of we know what's going on. Like, and there have been in the past kind of, communication lines that are open and closed. And sometimes like one person will get a communication about a topic and they don't share it for whatever reason. But I think it's really important that we have open communications. It's okay if we argue and it's okay if we have our disagreements, but it's better to have that than to hide something or not to have it and not to address somebody's concern. And so that's more fair.
Okay, so Maggie, I mean, this is, like I said, this is just an
This
understanding.
is policy. This
Yeah,
is
we're
not a
not resolution.
change.
This is not, we're not legislating this or
Nope.
anything else. Yeah, okay.
This is just, in an organization every so often, we all use our best judgment, I think, but, it's just great to set out guidelines every so often that we're all in agreement or familiar with, and this is just what this is.
Okay, I'd have to disagree with you completely because I think that what's written on this piece of paper is bad policy. There is no judgment. It says the communication is sent to the mayor. So does that mean every piece of communication the mayor gets, he has to put it into the council packet? There is no judgment. And
Well,
conversely, if one council member receives something, does they have to, any communication we get from any resident, do we have to circulate that to everybody?
Yeah.
So I think this needs to be rethought a little bit. And I also, I have a problem because I think our minutes have gotten completely out of control.
And they have.
They are not supposed to be transcripts. They're supposed to be a summary of the proceedings. And this idea that if a resident, asked us to put their, comments in verbatim, where do we cut it off? Can they send us a 10-page letter and we have to put every word in?
Well, so Joe, going back to the way things were when we met in person, it was always Joni's practice, and Joni, you're very welcome to join in here, where she would say, hey, thank you for your words, but if you have it written down, please give it to me because I can't remember every single thing you said. And so they would hand her a piece of paper, and generally, yes, at that point, she would have to type that whole darn thing in. And I agree with you, years ago, we revisited this and prayed to God that we would finally come to a better way of doing minutes, but we never did. Like, we still do these ridiculous long minutes. We should be doing, like, we discussed this, we voted this way. We discussed this, we voted this way. That's what normal boards do. That's not what we have chosen. I am very open to choosing that in the future, but given that we haven't, we have to figure out an equitable way to represent people's opinions.
But Joe, I want to clarify one point. I mean, we discussed at length at that meeting that this didn't necessarily mean if somebody sent me a letter personally, then I just took care of it. It wasn't like everything needed to get circulated. What we agreed we would put in my understanding was anything that Bill got and sent to all of us, or anything that was sent to all of us. So if I type to you, hey, I really don't think you should open the pool this year, and it was just from, a resident to you, that necessarily wouldn't be included.
But there is no exclusion. If it's sent to all council.
I'm telling you, we made that distinction at the meeting.
Okay, but that's not what's on the paper here, Marcy. And what we're voting on is what's on the paper.
I agree.
So that's why I think we need to go back and make some clarifications here about what we're actually voting on.
I'm supporting you, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, so if somebody sends something to Bill, so this was the complication, and Bill, this is not you, but if somebody sent something to Dan, when it supported his point of view, often it got in the council packet, and often if it didn't, it didn't. And so how do we fix it so that it's equitable?
I think we have to trust Bill's judgment that he's going to send things when it's appropriate to send things. And if we find out he's not doing that, then we'll have a separate conversation. And maybe we come with this more draconian approach that says he has to forward everything.
Okay, so we take number 1 out of here.
Again, I think it's a judgment deal.
Yeah, well, so don't take it out. I would say just at his judgment, just add that in there. So communication sent to the mayor at his judgment or whatever,
Okay.
So, because again, there's stuff you could get.
At his own discretion type thing?
Discretion.
Yes.
Which
Okay.
is, well, it's always been my practice. That's what I was trying to say earlier. On very minor things that a resident may ask me to look at, a limb has come down, or I got, something.
Great, that's
very
totally
trivial.
different.
I just take care of it. I don't have to involve you guys.
And you shouldn't, because that's a lot of extra work for everyone that
Yeah,
we don't.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
And,
so
and
then
I don't mind if it's sent to all of council, then if that goes in the council packet, because if somebody decides to carbon everybody, then yeah, that's probably okay.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be, a notice that we received the communication, and we're not going to verbatim put everything in, from the communication.
No, we're not going to put everything. No, I think generally what we'll do is, like, for example, the thank you notes, those go in to the council packet verbatim. They don't go into the council minutes verbatim. They go into the council packet, and then during the course of council, during communications, Bill will say, we received a thank you note from blah, blah, blah about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's in
And
communication.
it's in there by default, just because he
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
So do we change the sentence, communication was sent to all of council? Like, what if it was sent to like Avia and I, but it's a big deal and they want it to be heard? What do we do?
Council can make a request. That council person can make a request that would be included in the packet.
Okay.
And if it's not included in the packet, we can have the conversation at the council meeting and discuss why it was included in the packet.
Okay.
And I think if it's a reasonable request, it's going to be put in the packet.
Just a quick clarification. Should this be an and or an or test where it has to meet all three of these, or it's or?
Let's say, okay, so I'm just thinking this through out loud. So 1, the communication is sent to the mayor and can be added to the packet at his discretion. It's and or the communication is sent to a council member or members and can be requested to be added to the packet. And or a resident sends a communication and asks for it to be discussed at the council meeting. So I guess it's an and or both.
All right, thank you.
And then, it's been our practice in the past for the last paragraph. Finally, if a resident attends a meeting and addresses council, their comments have traditionally been placed into the minutes verbatim, just because they speak and it's, that's Joni's thing that she's done, is records it and then transcribes it, and often asks for their written comments if there are any. And then this gets even weirder when we start meeting by Zoom.
I would say that I would strike the word verbatim in that section if it was me.
Okay.
I agree. I think we should get back to where it's the summary.
I agree.
I mean, I've read a lot of meeting minutes from a lot of different governmental entities, and there's nobody who does this, what we're doing. And
Agreed.
I think, I believe our solicitor will confirm that feeling. Our minutes are way overboard.
Joe, you're 100% right.
That's a lot.
I mean, about every 5 years, I feel like we try to not do this, and then we never actually stop.
I think we have this discussion every year.
If I could say something, it is the lawyer for the village of Mariemont. Joe's 100% correct. We do not have to have all this stuff in verbatim. I will tell you this, so being here for a long time, it appears to me that so much of this is driven because of prior council's dissatisfaction with the prior mayor and how he handled certain things. You guys have been elected by your constituents. Bill Brown's been elected by those very same people. You all have to trust each other to do the right thing. I personally think that this committee report is unnecessary. Now, again, I give you that caution with the fact that that's not an opinion that's legal or not. It's just from observation. But
I think and the reason this was drawn up is because we actually started putting whole letters that we received into the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, wait a minute.
Only when they spoke.
only when they
came
give
in
them,
to speak.
Only when
Yeah.
they spoke.
We never put a whole letter like
Only when they spoke.
that I didn't bring or somebody didn't
So
bring.
we
before.
didn't like Alvar and what was one of the minutes? No.
I think what involved here when we got the COVID and we cut down the when we eliminated the in-person permission to address council, that's when we start putting in these letters verbatim.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to do that because we have a facility to allow residents to speak at the meetings. So I don't think we have to, put these letters in as much detail as we are.
So I can just go, after discussion, council agreed to amend the report, right? So I don't have to do all this back and forth now.
Right. No, God, no.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Then I would, Maggie, ask if you can resubmit the report
Sure.
as amended.
Okay. Yep, I've been taking notes. That sounds fine.
All right, so Maggie, you want to work on the wording then and come back next meeting with clear wording on this thing?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate this, especially because I don't know, having come from a corporate background, like going into government, I don't, I know how to make ordinances and laws and these things, but I don't know how, and it's just because Mariemont has not in the past made policy. We don't have like a training binder. We don't communicate with new council or new mayors, like this is how it goes. I don't even think it goes the same way for everybody. And maybe that's the beauty of government versus a company, but like it is really tough to all have us on the same page in terms of policy. So, I mean, I'd be happy to be educated, or if we want to come up with something, if we feel it's a good idea to have this is how life works around here, SOPs or policies or whatever. I'm open to that because that's what this is really all about. It is not about legislation at all.
I would say we start with the first policy, just about doing the right thing. I mean, just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
And we may have to get a little more granular than that over time, but in general, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we here? Maggie, you're gonna take this back, you're gonna rework it, resubmit it.
Yep. Sounds good.
And I would also, Joe, I'm gonna go back to Joni's question too. I think, I think we still want to say if there are major issues that were brought up, instead of just saying it was discussed and we went on, it would be like, okay, but you do a great job of capturing a lot of stuff in there. We probably don't need to include in there, but it's just like, what are the major salient points that were raised and discussed? And then we went ahead and voted. So, yeah.
But again, we'll have a chance to, if we don't believe that Joni captured the essence of the issue or the conversation, we'll have a chance to correct it when we review the minutes.
Yeah, we always vote on the minutes, and you're right. There's a chance then to amend the minutes. Yeah.
Just since it's come up again, I would literally die with joy in my chair if at one point our council minutes read like the agenda. Like we discussed this, we voted this with this many ups and this many downs. We discussed this, we voted that. I mean, I would love to see our committee or our council minutes be a page with bullets. Like that's the way minutes generally go from a board, and that is what we should be doing. I'm happy to head that up if anybody wants to do it ever.
Well, I would actually see it differently than Maggie. I do think if there's salient points, because you want to show residents that you thought about different things.
Yes.
You don't want to just sort of say, oh, we talked about it and voted on it. I think you
But
want
that's on that video.
I think you should still be able to capture in a few sentences. You don't have to sit there and say, Mr. Bartlett said blah, 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 or, you don't have to attribute to who said it or whatever. Just sort of say, these are the salient points that were discussed.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, we voted, maybe that, yeah. But what we have is exhaustive.
Try it different and we'll see how it goes.
Sure.
And we'll go on from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, that's what we're doing. Let's move on. Last report, Tony.
Yes, from the Safety Committee
Committee.
regarding handicap ramp at Hampstead Park and speed tables on Miami Avenue. The Safety Committee met on November 3rd, 2020, 5:00 p.m. Present at the meeting were Committee Chairman Avia Graves, Committee members Maggie Palazzolo and Kelly Rankin, Village Superintendent John Schippenberg, Village Engineer Chris Ertl, Chief Rick Hines, and Mayor Bill Brown. The meeting began at 5:00 p.m. to discuss handicap ramp at Hampstead Park and speed tables on Miami Avenue. A request was made by the building superintendent for Hampstead Park for a handicap ramp at the front entrance of Hampstead Park, similar to that of Jordan Park. He thought that Mariemont had put in the apron/handicap access at Jordan Park. Upon discussion with John and Chris, Mariemont did not install the ramp access at Jordan Park. That was part of the design of the building. Mariemont would be happy to put in a concrete ramp with a width of 4 feet when we repave the street, but please note that the street won't be scheduled for pavement for a while still. That is a process as to when we complete this kind of work, if not deemed a necessity. There are handicap ramps at both ends of the sidewalk on the block, and parking for residents has handicap access. It is not in the scope of Mariemont to create a ramp like what Jordan Park has. Hampstead Park is able to submit for a permit to put in a ramp like they have at Jordan Park at their own expense. A request was made by Jeff Molsky of 4004 Miami Road for the village to consider installing a speed table on Miami Road. There were a lot of discussion about speed on Miami and the issues with speed tables, including the projected cost of $10,000 to $20,000. At this time, we will be trailing a new speed monitoring sign in the village, and it's our hope that this will help as a speed deterrence. In addition, we will start having our police force pull over cars that are between 5 and 10 miles over the limit and issue warnings. The police will continue to monitor speeding on the street closely and ticket those speeders above 10 miles per hour. We will not be installing a speed table at this time. Respectively submitted, signed by Avia Graves, Maggie Palazzolo, and Kelly Rankin.
All right, you've heard the report. I need a motion and a second to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right, any discussion, please?
So trailing is not right. We're trialing a new, it's just a clerical error. We're trialing a new speed monitoring sign. So that's
Trial.
much sense, but we are.
Oh, sorry.
I
bad.
spelled that correctly, Tony.
My bad. My bad.
I will.
And let me just say, while we're talking about that, the chief, we got word today that the device is in out at the place we ordered it, Klein, I think it is. I'm going to send John out there probably one day this week. He'll be picking it up. So hopefully we'll have this thing, installed maybe next week.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll be moving ahead with that aspect at least.
Good.
Right.
Hopefully it will
And,
work.
and we also discussed in the meeting that, if this speeding deterrent device, speed sign, works, which it's our hope that it is, that I'd like to have the further discussion when we, create our budget for next year to budget for another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill, I think you said that, tell me again how much that cost approximately,
Approximately $3,500, I think it was.
just be on the record.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's movable though, right? It's the one that we can move.
Yeah,
forward.
it's movable. Yes, right. We got a special bracket on the back so that the bracket stays on the pole. We bought extra brackets. That's what I mean to say. So
Yeah.
moving the thing is a very easy kind of a thing. I mean, it can be moved by an officer, in a very short order.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be like moved and then like
No,
recalibrated.
no. It
Okay.
doesn't require big tools or, digging new poles in the ground, any of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we
So
can
first gonna-
we can get it down that hill pretty quick.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
I mean, we can take it off the hill and take it down to Settle, take it down to Homewood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super.
Right. We're going to first put it on Homewood.
It is, and Rob just raised the question, it is, the bracket itself is a locking mechanism type of a bracket so that it is locked and secured to the pole. Well, thieves are clever, but it's going to be hard.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll first be on Homewood, but then we will move it to the next street. Our plan is from Miami.
Yeah, okay.
Do you have a recommendation for the length of time it will be in place? Like, it's on Homewood for 2 weeks or a month or a week at a time?
It's a great
I mean, I
question.
think at this point, we've kind of left this to chief's discretion. Bill and I, though, have definitely been talking to him very closely about it and monitoring the situation. So I think what we'd like to see is getting it in place, monitoring, seeing if it's working. And if it is, what's great is that we can move it around, but, it'd be great to get another one so that we, could leave them in both places for longer periods of time when we have issues. But no, not a set specific time, Marcy.
I mean, I noticed Indian Hill has one, Madera has one. They move theirs around probably it seems like every couple of weeks or something. Probably it's one of those things that you kind of have to move it around. It probably loses its effectiveness. You get used to seeing it there and you stop paying attention to it or something. So you move it around. Yeah.
There's one on the Parkway that moves around. It always gets your attention because the cops
Yeah.
are always right there in Fairfax.
Well, the newness of it too,
Yeah,
Yeah, you see it. All right, so on roll call then, any more discussion? We good?
Good.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that's that report. All right, I think that was all the reports. Oh, before we move off of this, because with all the discussion about the rules and law business, Maggie, I got a communication today from Don Keys. you would like to have this put into your committee. This is to look at our current legislation regarding signage.
Okay.
And I'll be,
Signage or
well, no, I'm going to forward you. He's written it up here. I didn't have it. I just got it late today. I'll forward it around, and I will forward it around to everybody on council to see the exact ordinances that he's talking about. We really need to look at this because, with the new, just as an example, with the new Emery restaurant, the whole signage issue has come up.
Okay.
We need to really get clear on what we're doing with our signage.
I think I think we tried to do that.
We probably did.
And then
Yeah.
we maybe didn't because we got distracted. So
Yeah.
that is very good. I would be happy to do that.
All right. All right, moving on to miscellaneous. Leaf pickup will end the week of December the 14th. And just as a sort of a reminder here, we do have 3 trucks up and running now. We only had 2 in the start. We were having trouble with the one leaf vacuum, but that's been repaired. So we're running 3 trucks now. And again, I would like to politely remind all residents to not rake the leaves into the street. Leave them at the edge of your yard.
Not working, Bill.
I know it's not working. But let me explain. I'm asking this because if you rake them into the street, it's a safety issue, and it's also during heavy rains, some of those leaves run down into the catch basins, they clog a catch basin, and then we've got to get John and the people down there to clear all that out. That makes a lot of extra work. So, and believe it or not, it will not, if the leaves sit on the edge of your lawn, it will not really kill your grass. The grass goes dormant underneath and it will come back. It's always been my experience. The grass has always come back.
Okay. How do we,
So-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
everybody rakes their leaves into the street. Like
Not
right.
everybody.
Well, okay.
Pretty much everybody.
Bobby doesn't, Rob doesn't, Maggie doesn't, Joe doesn't, I don't. But, you just walk around the corner here onto Mount Vernon, both sides of the street, they've got like a huge pile of leaves in the road that the lawn care companies are blowing right onto the road, probably 3 feet on one side, at least 2 on the other. So you've got a minimal clear path to take a car through there. You get the cars driving through them and then they go all over the place. And if they're wet, it's a hazard if they're wet.
Yeah, we left for the weekend and turned out from the bluff onto Mariemont Avenue, and it was just raining for the first time, and it was like being on ice. We slid into the next lane.
Yep.
Pile of wet leaves, and
Yep.
I thought, it looks terrible, and because of my foot, I'm not a runner, but Kelly is, and like my car and Kelly would have done the same thing. Like it's just not an okay thing.
I'd fall down.
Yeah, you fall down. Like, it's just.
Well, listen, I've been communicating it. We put it, it's on the website. If you have any other suggestions how we can communicate this, more effectively to residents.
I say we said, and I know John and I have talked about this, but somehow we have to make the landscape lawn care companies take this seriously. Because they're the ones that are doing it. And I know John's frustrated about it. Obviously, I'm frustrated about it. Let's put our heads together. Do we write a letter saying, no, seriously, you're going to get a ticket if you continue to do this?
That would be reasonable and, revenue generating. Not
Yeah,
that
start giving warnings, or maybe we should send a letter to every landscape company doing business within the village, I guess, just as a heads up reminder, to please not to do it.
It would be reasonable.
Yeah.
But
All right.
that doesn't, stop the regular old residents. But it's part of it. It's.
But that the big ones are the lawn care companies.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right.
Anyhow, I can talk about this till I'm blue in the face.
Yeah, it's just a reminder. We'll think of other ways to get more reminders out there. Village offices will be closed Friday, November the 26th and 7th in observation or observance of Thanksgiving. The Permanent Improvement Fund meeting will be Monday, December the 21st at 5:30. So you really need to, be thinking about that meeting and what we're going to discuss.
I got Chief Hines stuff, so Fletch and John, get your stuff in.
Yeah. Okay. The regular council meeting will be will be right after that meeting, December the 21st at 6:30. And that will be our last meeting of the year.
And then it's the Christmas party.
So I expect everybody to come in a happy, cheerful mood.
We will be in Florida. I will be there via Zoom.
All right. All right. The village offices will be closed that Thursday and Friday, December the 24th and 5th, in observation of Christmas. Bob Bloom on the Planning Commission, his term was up, or will be up the end of the year. And I've asked Bob Rich if he would consider taking the spot. I'm mentioning this to you all in that I think it's within my purview to just do it, but I think you all know Bob. You know Bob. Was on planning before. I think he's a good candidate. If anybody has any objection to this, you should say so now.
So my only objection, I adore Bob Rich, by the way. My only objection is that it seems more appropriate that he would be on the ARB rather than the Planning Commission. He was on the Planning Commission before, and I do not want to put words in his mouth, but I think he was confused as to why he wasn't on the ARB, not the Planning Commission.
Well, actually, Bob has expressed a desire to get back on planning. I mean, this is
okay.
Something,
And I wholeheartedly support him.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you've already got an architect on ARB.
And we already have Peter Wren on as an architect. And I think, Bob is so knowledgeable on the code and things that I think he'll be a tremendous asset to have back on planning.
Yeah, if that is what he wants to do, I am all 100% behind that.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, so there's, like I said, I'm just floating the idea out there so you all can have comment on it. All right, and Joe, I'm going to let you take this last one, the creation of the Village 501c.
Yeah, so I'm not really ready for it yet because I was hoping to have a summary put together by now, but I'll have it for the next meeting. But the concept is to create a 501c3 would be basically probably called the Village Foundation or the Village of Mariemont Foundation. And what the goal would be is to have a foundation that will be available to collect contributions for projects involving the Village of Mariemont, whether it's the pool, whether it's the tennis courts, or whether it's, the Murray Path, which we had to go and get an outside 501c3 to give us the ability to take charitable contributions. It's something that is probably needed. I do believe we've had a Mariemont attorney who has offered to do all the paperwork gratis, so we won't have to do that. There may be some filing fees that we may have to pay for, and so I'm going to kind of just from a straw vote basis at this point to see if there's any objection to the village in essence taking on $2,000 to $3,000 of an organizational expenses in this thing, because again, we're probably going to be getting $3,000 to $5,000 worth of legal work for free to get this thing put together. But what we're looking at, and this is where I'm not done yet, I've got a copy of the Wyoming Recreation Foundation bylaws, and I'm trying to take that and summarize, how the structure would be for our foundation. But part of this will be is that this foundation will pretty much operate on its own. It will not be operated by the village. We may have one council person and possibly the mayor as part of the trustees, but it's going to be pretty much on its own and figuring out how to raise money for different events, for different projects around the village. And again, this is something that numerous other communities do. It's something we've probably needed for years and just never addressed. And, it's probably a good thing. So and again, I apologize. I don't have the summary put together yet, but I was just busy on a couple other things this weekend. So,
I know, speaking personally, I certainly have no objection that the money would, put out a little seed money to, get this thing underway, get this thing started. Any other thoughts?
And the other piece of it is I hope by 2 weeks to have a list of potential trustees to start off with. And the good news is we've got some very experienced people with foundations who are, probably willing to step up and join this effort that I've talked to already. So, but it'll be again, this foundation will operate on its own. It's not like the village has, responsibility for it or the ability to, tell it what to do. It's going to operate, independently. But the reality is they will have to come back to the village for approval for projects if it's involving the pool, involving the tennis courts, involving any property, the parks, whatever they may feel like they're going to be working on. So we'll still have a say, but this organization will set separately away from the village.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I do too.
Agreed.
Okay, so we're all agreed?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, can I make one other miscellaneous comment here?
Of course.
Wednesday is Murray Pat Day at the Madison Place, the restaurant, the coffee shop, and we get a portion of the proceeds. So if you're looking for a place to get a cup of coffee or a lunch or dinner, please stop by the Madison Place on Wednesday.
Will do. All right, Tony, the resolutions.
All right, here we go. First one, to reappoint Peter Wren as a member of the Architectural Review Board for the calendar years 2021 and 2022.
All right, I need a motion and a second to accept.
So moved.
So moved.
Second, I'll second.
Rob had the second. Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves. Avia,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo, sorry, I skipped you, Megan,
Aye.
and Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that'll be accepted. All right, Tony, can you
Yes.
group some of these?
Yes. All right,
Okay.
to reappoint Eric Marsland, Dave Wartenberger, Ruth Varner, and Carrie Gray as members of the Parks Advisory Board for the calendar year 2021, and to reappoint Mary Tenzing as a member of the Parks Advisory Board for the calendar years of 2021 and 2022.
All right. All right, these were all third readings, of course. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Marcy had the motion.
And
Second,
Can I just stop us in case, so last week or last meeting, 2 weeks ago, we tried to do this and then there was one person who wasn't actually a viable candidate. So do we know all these people are for sure viable candidates before we reappoint them?
well, I believe,
I reached out to.
we took their names out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I-
Making sure. Well, there's some first readings here. Like, okay, never mind. There's some other first readings. Okay.
These
But
are,
this light
these
was
are
on
third
and
readings
this
here.
light off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. God, I hope.
Then I
so.
second.
No.
If we have viable candidates, I second.
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stiltner. Joe,
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that. I was reading something.
you're good. All right, moving on there, Tony, to the south.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
south.
reappoint Steve Spooner, Andrew Seeger, Jason Brown Knight, and Mark Glassmeyer as a member of the South 80 Trails Garden and Parks Advisory Board for the calendar year of 2021.
All right, you went all the way to Glassmeyer, right? Those were all third readings.
Those are all third readings, yes.
All third readings. I need a motion and a second to accept.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Mrs. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that will all be accepted. All right, Tony, starting with the
Yes, to
First
reappoint
reading.
John Fakes and John Morgan as members of the South 80 Trails Gardens and Parks Advisory Board for the calendar year 2021.
all right, those are first readings, second readings next time.
All right, next one, to accept a bid of Rumpke Waste to authorize contract and to pay for services.
All right, again, that's the first reading, second reading next time.
Okay, can I mention one thing on this? I saw the notice that got into the town crier. Basically, it was, not the most comprehensive document in the world. And I was wondering, I haven't seen anything on mariemont.org yet. And/or have we sent an email to residents about this? The residents that are part of the email network?
Yes, I believe we,
Because I would have gotten, I'm on the.
maybe not.
So I am.
Did you get one?
The other thing.
No, go ahead.
Just to Joe, to build on that, too, I agree with you. The other thing is, seems like this would be a good chance to refresh the pop-up at the homepage, the first thing that comes up, because we still have on there about temporary yard signs and the yearly waste fee. It seems like those could come off,
Yeah.
and then we can go ahead and then put on there about that we're looking at this, the Rumpke contract and the potential change. So, because I think it's good to keep that thing fresh anyway, whenever we have something new, otherwise people start to ignore it, so.
Well, remember, the flyer was just a very elementary first pass, kind of a heads up. Kind of a lot of other information to be coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, Joan, you were just talking when you said that, about maybe that pop up at the homepage to take out the stuff about the temporary yard sign because the elections are over now, thank goodness, and the yearly waste fee. That's on the pop up, and that was back in July that went into effect. So if we take those off and have Kelly, you want to put something together to give to? Oh, not yet. Okay. Well, Kelly, so do we agree? I guess that's a question. Do you agree to put something on that pop-up thing in the homepage, just saying this is being currently discussed?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, again, and you've mentioned it as well, we just need to bear in mind that we're still just doing the first reading of the legislation. So I don't want to convince, it's a fine line between telling people this is going to happen.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah, but we pretty much did that in the flyer, Kelly. I mean, it says garbage pickup will be curbside only effective January 1st, 2021. And that's not the case.
It's the case until we vote on it the third time.
I don't think we get to vote differently. We don't have an option for something different. I guess we kind of do. I mean, if we wanted to. But
anyway, I think if we could put something on the website that says this is being considered,
Sure.
again, it's being voted on, currently in the process of being voted on in council.
Yeah, I can talk with Allison about that tomorrow. Come up with something.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it out. I want to make sure we give everybody an opportunity to see this now. So, all right.
Well, hey, Joe, did you anticipate we would have heard from residents by now? You mean those that have seen the flyer?
I think the flyer pretty much indicated it was a done deal, and that's not the case. I think the flyer is misleading.
Well, you're right. We could vote against it. You're right about that, but I don't think we really have another option. So.
Right. And again, it says proposed change. So.
All right. Well, we'll get something up on the website.
Yep.
All right, Tony, moving on to the ordinances.
All right, so the first one has been tabled. The next one is ordinance amending chapter 31.077 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding building commissioner.
Okay, that's the second reading, and this is the discussion section of that. Anybody have any comments other than me?
No, I think the changes make sense. So.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things that I want to sort of get clear on this. In the old ordinance, it says that we must have 5/6 of the full membership in order to overturn.
No. We're in the building commissioner.
Oh, sorry, we're on the building commissioner. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We'll be getting to that in 1 second. All right. Well, that was the second reading.
So is there any discussion?
Any discussion regarding the building commissioner?
No.
No.
Nope.
All right, we'll have the third reading next time. Now moving on to the powers and duties of the Architectural Review Board.
All right, next one, to amend section 151.025A1A of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances, powers and duties of the Architectural Review Board.
Yes, this is the second reading. Do we have any discussion about this?
Tony, do you have a little more detail with you?
I do. Okay, what do you want to know? I can read.
The entire thing.
See here.
So we all have it. So I mean, you can read it or I can read it. Bill, what's your?
Well, yeah, let me point, I just want to get clear on this. That's all. I'm not saying I'm necessarily objecting. Under the old, it says that we need 5/6 of the full membership to reverse a decision of the ARB. Under the new, it says that we only need a majority of council members to concur with, to overturn the thing. And you also have gone on to say that basically the council member who sits on the ARB can't participate. So that would mean that only 5 members could participate in this. And I'm assuming if you only have to have a simple majority, you would just need 3 of those 5 to do it. Is that correct?
So you're talking about if, yes. So, okay. So speaking from a purely like logical perspective, so pretend like we're like game markers on a game board and we have red, yellow, green, blue, white, and black. Whoever hears the original argument as a portion of the ARB is then removed from the board who hears the appeal.
No, I understand that. I don't have a question about that. I mean, I get that, as I said, but like I said, you're reducing it now from the 5/6 down to a simple majority of 5.
Yes.
That would just be 3 members.
Mm-hmm.
And then my question would be, if, let's say during that appeal that one of those 5, that one of the 4 members, the remaining members, is not there that night, or of the 5, I mean, is not there that night. So now we only have 4 people there to decide this issue.
Huh.
And you would have a quorum. You would have a quorum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm assuming that 3 out of those 4, could vote to overturn. But what happens if it's a 2-2 tie? Because you've additionally stated that the mayor will not be a tiebreaker for any vote by council that would so be required. So how do we get out of that mess?
So what I would say would be that you would have, again, if it's an appeal and you can't garner at least 3 votes, then the appeal doesn't win.
And that would be the end of it? I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't.
That's the process, right? It's like the Supreme Court. If it's a tie, it doesn't get overturned.
It won't be a tie in the Supreme Court. There are 9 members.
No, I know, but there was right now. But before, what's her name got on?
Well, so if the applicant bringing the appeal, because they feel that the ARB has wronged them in a judgment, and they want council to overturn it. If it would come down in that situation to a 2-2 tie, and the mayor can't break the tie, then the appeal goes down.
Right.
Is that it?
Wait,
Time out.
time out.
All right.
Changing the
Change
recording.
it, tape.
All right.
Because again, to the wording here is you have to have a majority. If there's not a majority, then the appeal doesn't get overturned. The original decision does not get overturned.
Yeah. it does
Because
not
you
get
weren't able to
overturned.
garner enough votes
Okay.
to do that.
But I mean, do you feel that, it just seems like you've so narrowed it down. I mean, do you feel like the applicant who's coming in to make the appeal is going to feel satisfied?
Well, but you're also picking an example where you've said.
I know,
one
but
person not being there.
that situation could exist.
There's
Well,
lots-
so here's the thing. So if, I guess yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. If the mayor, not Bill Brown, if any mayor had voted a certain way, and then the mayor can't break the tie, and now we change the rules so the mayor can break the tie, if the tie is broken in favor of the way the mayor voted in the original, I can't say appeal, in the original case,
Yeah. I know what you mean.
that's equally as, I mean, I would like to keep my goal, here's my goal, my overarching large picture goal with this legislation is that we don't have some clown court in Mariemont where 2 or 3 people who are on the ARB are also on council. And so that if you go to an appeal board because you don't like what the ARB did to you, you already know the answer because a chunk of them already voted. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So
I understand that because, right, you've eliminated the mayor from voting and you've eliminated basically the council person from voting in the appeal. I understand that, but I'm just saying that you're sort of created a circumstance here whereby I'm not sure that the applicant is really getting a fair hearing.
Well, there's 7 of us. So if you take 2 of us out, there's still 5.
Well, six
So
of-
yeah, if
There's
one
6 of-
person is absent, maybe that could happen. But like, I mean, probably not.
Well, not probably, but you're right, probably not, but it's possible. All right.
And
Let's move
you can always control that and call, with good communication and some common sense.
Mhm.
We could say, hey, whoever is on vacation for this meeting, or they had surgery, or they're not going to be there, can we postpone this to the next hearing so that you can have the full council? And I think 90% of the people would be like, yes, I would prefer that.
Yeah, we could do, but would the applicant prefer that? Because you're delaying justice
Well,
to.
I mean, yeah, you're delaying it by 2 weeks and potentially I don't know, if somebody said like you're maybe going to jail and you're maybe not, would you like to wait 2 weeks and have a better shot, or would you like to do it now? I don't know. Like, it's not a good situation any way you slice it, but like some good communication could be a good thing.
Yeah.
So to your point, Bill, I think, it would be up to the applicant whether they want to delay or not then. If they say, oh, there's only gonna be 4 people here, I don't want to, can we just, and if they want to say, yeah, I want to go ahead and proceed with 4, then that's, that's.
So, okay, so we would let the applicant decide then when and if we're holding the
If it's
appeal.
not gonna be the normal full group. Yeah.
I don't think we need that in legislation. I just think it's.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. And then to your other point, where the mayor can't be the mayor cannot sit as the chairperson of the ARB. I do sort of think that that's a slight overreach on your part. The ARB is made up of 7 members. And I would think that those 7 people are more than competent to decide who they would like to sit as the chairperson. You got 2 people now essentially in your committee have basically decided what 7 other people should be deciding.
Well, all of council will get to decide.
Well, ultimately, but it's been brought before us basically as an issue by your committee. And here's my only thought on that. Like I said, I mean, obviously I've already voiced my objection to this. I don't like this. You can't change a light bulb down at the swimming pool that you don't have to run it past the pool commission these days. And that's probably a good thing. My question to you, Maggie, and to you, Rob, and Marcy also was on this committee. Did you guys consult with anyone on the ARB? I mean, did you get their opinion about this? I mean, because basically you are sort of interfering in the internal workings of the ARB. What did they say about it? Did they
So
have an opinion on
my
this?
opinion of this is that I do not agree that you should not be able to change a light bulb without running it past somebody. That's a very normal, safety-oriented thing to do. That's ridiculous to interfere in somebody's work like that. No, I did not specifically call a current member of the ARB about this. However, I've been on council for 7 years and I've seen multiple people resign from the ARB and from the Planning Commission because they've become politicized organizations. Because yes, you are right that if everything else were held equal, they should be able to pick their leadership. Absolutely. But when they're appointed by a certain person who has expectations of them that are clear if unstated, and then they're under pressure to elect that person as their chair.
Wait a minute, Maggie. Wait a minute.
not fair.
The mayor doesn't. You all appoint who's on the ARB. I don't, and the mayor doesn't.
Well, you appoint.
Yeah, right. So I mean, you can disapprove all you want. I mean, so like I said, the structure and makeup of the ARB is largely a creature of your creation, not mine. I mean, it's true, I might make the appointment, but you don't have to like the person.
In the past, that hasn't been the case at all.
So like I said, aren't we we're dwelling too much on what has happened in the past?
No, really, we're not, because just because you're running things or you think you're running things a certain way, it doesn't mean that things wouldn't have been run the way they were in the past and won't be run that way again. And so we're not like, this is not a personal thing. This is literally an organizational change.
No, I know.
We're
I
not
understand.
asking the people in the organization who it's affecting, if they want that change.
It's not a, I mean, at the risk of sounding really awful, like it's not their decision, it's ours.
Yeah, but that does sound awful. I mean,
It does sound awful, but it
okay,
is
your decision, but shouldn't you at the very least have asked their opinion? Shouldn't you have consulted with them? You know, at the very least, hey guys, is this a good idea or a bad idea? What do you think?
okay. Well, so maybe I don't agree. No, I don't agree that because if you'd asked them 5 years ago, they would have not given you their real opinion.
Oh, come on, Maggie, you don't know that. I mean, if you had asked me 5 years ago, trust me, I would tell you.
Can I say something real quick? Sure. So, Bill, you yourself told me that there were multiple times when you were approached by the previous mayor before the first meeting of the year, you and the other council member who was on, and said, which one of you two is going to appoint me to be the chair of this committee?
Okay, that's
You
not.
told me about
Okay,
that.
wait, yeah, but your wording is not accurate because the wording basically was who's going to nominate
Who's going to
me.
nominate?
Okay, he
So
still
there's-
had to be voted on by the other 6
There's
members of that
Clearly,
committee.
pressure was being put on, and so power in the past was abused. I think it's fine to go ahead and have the mayor be the chair of the planning commission. I think for the potential, that just, again, the mayor to be chair of the planning commission and chair of the ARB, because the planning commission oftentimes hears the appeals of the ARB.
No,
And
they
so it's just like, so now he's chair of both, or she is chair of both, and they're allowed to sit there and oversee an appeal of their own decision that they've made. That just strikes me as totally incorrect in that regard, to be able to, you know, again, it is too much power, and it's not you, again, it's nothing against you, but we have also seen in the past, and you know this is true, there was abuse of that power, and it was being used in both, because you could be chair of both of those things. And you know that, and you've talked to me about it.
Well,
I'm saying,
here's what I think. I think that because you guys have such strident opinions about it right now, and they're very opposite one another, I think maybe you should table the ordinance for right now. I don't see any real to get this thing done right away. It's been lingering around for quite some time. I think the impetus for even making the changes in the first place is what you've all been discussing to begin with, is past sins of past people in this place. But I think what you want to do is structure something that won't so much direct themselves at the past sins, but try to figure out the various scenarios that are going to make this a better board. I have to agree with Bill Brown, even though I've been told long ago I don't have policy opinions and stuff like this, but I do think it's something that the ARB members should be consulted on as to whether or not they like that rule or don't like this rule.
should have asked at the very least.
So when's the next ARB meeting?
Well, we may not have one between now and
Isn't that convenient?
the end of the year. But listen, as you,
That's not.
I'm not sure that's not germane. And
Bill knows, I mean, we get along
listen,
fine.
as you guys already know, I declined to sit as chair of the ARB. I am currently sitting as chair of the Planning Commission, and this, I think, illustrates a point here. I'm sitting as chair of the Planning Commission because we had 2 newbies on the Planning Commission, and we had 2 other members. Well, actually, we had 3 newbies on the Planning Commission, and the one older existing member did not want to do it. What if that situation existed? Again, it may be rare, but what if that existed on the ARB and the mayor couldn't, sit?
So
They were in their job.
you find it okay that the mayor can be chair of both at the same time? Do you find that comfortable? Do you think that's right? Chair of both planning commission
That's
and
like
mayor.
a huge dictatorship. Not that we're that big of a deal. We're just Mariemont. I recognize that.
The person just has one vote.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're.
I mean, they don't have any more power.
And you're running the meeting.
Can I make a suggestion here? Can we table this till the next meeting and then think about it a little bit? And one of the thoughts that are going through my head is, could the mayor be the chairman of either the planning commission and or the ARB if council says it's okay? If the circumstance is there that we're comfortable with the mayor being the chairman of those committees, then the council would have the ultimate say on that.
Well, actually, Joe, you would only have say over the ARB. I think the Ohio Revised Code overrides on the Planning Commission. But actually, that you may have hit on a hybrid solution there. If a circumstance arose whereby essentially it was, for given the set of circumstances that the mayor basically was your best choice to sit on the ARB. And remember, these terms change. They're only a 1-year deal. We change them. We turn them over every year. You would only.
We have a difficult time attracting, qualified, I don't want to say qualified people, but the people that, understand everything that the ARB is up to.
Yes.
And so when we have those circumstances, does it make sense maybe in that circumstance for the mayor then to step in to be the chair? It shouldn't be automatic. And if council is concerned about too much power being centralized with one person, we can overrule that.
So I need to put this out there because I feel very, very strong reaction to what you said. I will go along with what this team decides. However, I have heard for as long as I have been involved in Mariemont at any level that we have hard times getting people involved, getting people interested in serving on X or Y board or whatever the heck we want to call it at the moment. It is because we politicize these things. It's because there's political pressure on people to do what they're told to do instead of to volunteer to do a thing they care about doing to better their community. I really have a strong reaction to increasing the ability for them to be pressured and then using that as justification to get more people to do it, because that is exactly the opposite of what I've seen in the past and heard in these committees voiced as reasons for resignations.
Okay, but Maggie, I'm gonna interject here strongly because we do have a different mayor now than what we had in the past. I'll be the first to, agree wholeheartedly that the previous mayor did a lot of stuff that, probably, wasn't acceptable. I won't even say probably, it wasn't acceptable.
That doesn't mean it won't happen again. If we're not.
Okay, but we've got, what I'm saying is we could have a circuit breaker involved, which basically allows council to make the call at the end of the day. So we're changing it around a little bit. We're not just saying it's the ARB that makes the call. Council would have a veto on that. And that's why I'm trying to think this through as we're talking, and it's real hard because I'm trying to read, the wording that was on the page and trying to say, okay, what happens in this scenario? What happens in that one? But I'm looking for a solution here because I don't necessarily disagree that in certain circumstances, the mayor, should be the chairman of the plan or of the ARB.
And, to follow up on that, Joe, there also could be, obviously I became mayor after a term on council. I'm active in, MPF. I'm very much concerned about the historic nature of this village. There may come a day when a mayor would get elected in this village that basically is not up to snuff when it comes to historic preservation. And that guy should not be sitting as chair of the ARB. And that is when basically council could step up and say, no, that mayor should not, at least in his first, year or two of his term anyway.
And I also want to take a look at this appeal process to make sure I completely understand it, because I think that's the other circuit breaker we have in the process that we didn't have before, because it required a super majority of council to overrule the ARB and a super majority of the overall planning commission. And we've all talked about this. That was a hard standard to get to.
Right.
But if it's a simple majority, I think it changes the dynamic of that completely.
Yeah. Well, that is what that has been changed, Joe. It is now down to a simple majority.
Well, actually,
Right.
I think we passed that earlier this year already. I think we already went from 5/6 to 2/3 planning.
I think you did that back in January, didn't you? Before I joined?
Yeah.
I know, I agree with you on the planning commission, but I think this may be because it got taken from the online version, which hasn't been updated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the old version, the 5/6. That's the old, but the new is.
No. I think that what's in here right now was already updated.
Oh, it was already updated.
But we haven't updated. We haven't recodified yet. So the online version still doesn't represent
Right.
current law.
Yep.
So can I make a motion to take a 2-week delay on this thing? Table for 2 weeks.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
make the motion, Joe?
To table.
Yeah.
To table, okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
where's my roll call? I remember your names. Mrs. Graves,
Fine. I am hungry, people.
we're almost there. I promise we're almost there.
You hangry?
Dr. Lewis,
I'm getting hangry.
Ms. Palazzolo,
Aye. You should
Ms.
be.
Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
And order.
All right, Tony, get
All
to
right.
work, bud, go.
Ordinance submitting chapter 32.13S, rule 19 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
All right, that's the second reading, correct?
Correct.
I'm lost on my page here.
Mm.
Okay. All right, second reading. We'll have third reading next time.
Oh, I skipped one, sorry.
Yeah, you skipped one, right.
All right.
Okay.
To amend Mariemont Code, Chapter 79, Schedule IB1, no parking of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances to update current requirements for parking on Worcester Pike.
Yeah, that's the second reading. We'll have third reading next time.
All right. Ordinance amending Section 32.13, Rules of Council, Z, Rule 25 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
Again, second reading. Go
All right,
ahead.
ordinance removing chapter 31.078 from the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding dog and cat wardens.
I hate to see it go, but that's the second reading.
All right, ordinance amending chapter 90.01A1B of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding dogs or other animals running at large, dangerous or vicious dogs.
Yeah, again, second reading, third reading next time.
All right, ordinance amending section 32.13 Rules of Council, GG of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
God, these are second readings.
You're supposed to ask.
Well, Avi was hungry. I'm sorry. You're right. I was trying to move this along. Are there any comments? These are second readings. You're allowed to make comments here. Avi, do you have any comments about these? That dog?
I am good.
The dog?
I'm good.
Yeah, you good with that?
I'm
Okay.
good.
I thought you'd be good too. Sorry that I'm rushing here just a tick.
All right, next one, ordinance
Next one.
amending section 91.36 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances.
Wait, hold on. Did you say 31.13?
91.36.
Okay, we're on that one. Okay. Again, second reading. Any comments?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Okay, to amend section 151.26A6 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances, signs within residential district.
Again, second reading. Any comments?
Nope.
Okay, the last one, to amend section 70.30 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances regarding obeying traffic control devices.
Again, second reading. Any comments?
All this is Rob Bartlett ordinance.
All right. Avia, go get something to eat. We're adjourned.
Yay. Bye, everybody.